opportunity to meet your neighbors. Today we have the distinct privilege of talking with Dan McGowan, the manager of the transferring station and the recycling center. This episode of Meet Your Neighbors is going to be chock full of information, so we're delighted that you're with us today. And Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
My pleasure, Marge. Thank you so much. Thank you both.
So Dan, I'm going to start off by saying that so many of us really don't know how to recycle. You suggest that if in doubt, throw it out. So can you explain why? What happens if we do it incorrectly? I'm not sure we all understand.
I think contamination is a serious issue in the recycling world. I think you're hearing a lot about the recycling markets collapsing. Certain markets that used to accept a lot of recycling don't want it anymore. And I think the main cause of that is contamination.
So, contamination, how so? For the person that really doesn't have it.
Yeah, so it's not bacteria or anything like that.
No, but things that there's things that should be recycled that we ask to be recycled, that we advertise in the pamphlets that come out that are on our website. And those we do want put in the recycling bin. But it's all those other things that, it's kind of, to go to your, when in doubt, throw it out. It's this thought of wishful recycling or aspirational recycling.
That's right.
And it's where you're sitting there in front of your trash and recycling bin and you go, well, it's made out of plastic. It's not on the list, but let me put it in the recycling bin.
Yes.
More often than not, that's not something that should have been recycled. It's going to be treated as trash, be considered contamination at the recycling facility.
I think part of this problem, as I see it, Dan, is that we're in this fossil fuel plastic world, and because when I mentioned to people about throwing it out, it was the same reaction I had. Really? Because I think somehow we think it's better, at least if we're attempting to recycle, but that's not correct.
Well, I mean, it's not, I won't call it a wrong thought. I mean, I think we all want to do the proper thing, especially all of us that really are avid recyclers. And I think as we go around and look at the bays, we'll see what those products are that we do want to recycle. And there's some things that, we want to recycle, at the curbside that we can't, but we can recycle when we come here at the transfer station, or there's other outlets that are available. And so I think, we'll look at that and think about that more.
Great.
But in the times where you think, I want to recycle this should be recycled, but it's not on the recycling list, then that's where it's trash, it's an impediment to the recycling system.
So it really is a waste of resources, time, money?
Yes, it is. And it brings me to a line my colleague used a lot, and I'm apologize to him for as I badly paraphrase it, but it's something to the effect of waste is a verb, it's not a noun. There is no such thing as waste. It's only that resources get wasted. And so there's a lot of things that we can, recycle. There aren't waste products. We could recycle it, we could compost it, we could donate it, we could reuse it. We don't need to just throw it in the garbage.
What are you thinking?
This might sound a little simple to ask it this way, but what is recyclable and what is trash? How can we identify what is recyclable? And also, what are the meanings of things like the symbols for the plastics that we see in that triangle and circle and the numbers, and those kinds of things?
Yeah, so, I would direct as to what's recyclable and what isn't to go to our webpage. Branford-ct.gov is the town webpage. The Solid Waste Recycling Department has its own, town department underneath that. So go there. There's a lot of information. There's actually this new widget put forth that you can type in the material that you have, and it will tell you, that's trash, that's recycling, put it in your bin. Maybe there's a donation possibility, maybe there's something else. So as far as, what is recyclable, what isn't, I would direct to that widget or to call here to the station. But you know, the plastics, they have that resin code on them. That's really, I think a lot of recyclers are you know, somewhat upset that that's on the recycling bin. It's a resin code that was used by the producers. It was never meant to be, to indicate recyclability.
It tells you the type of plastic that it is.
It tells the type of plastic that it is, right, but it doesn't necessarily convey its recyclability. So if you see that symbol, it doesn't necessarily mean it's something that should go into recycling bin. I think a perfect example is styrofoam. It's got that number 6 triangle right on it, but it's not something that can be recycled through our current system. And not something we want put into the curbside bin. And even if you were bringing it here to the transfer station, it's not something we'd want in that bottles and cans mix either.
So what are the numbers that we would put into the bin if we?
Well, so I mean, we recycle plastic food use, shampoo, detergents, things like that. Those plastic, hard, rigid plastics. A lot of plastic film, you'll find a recycling symbol on it, but that's not something you want in your curbside bin. There's a spot out in Bay 1 that, or at your local retailer, you can bring that plastic film back to.
So we don't go by the numbers?
Don't go by the numbers.
Oh, and we thought, excuse me, but we thought number 1 and 2 is across the board recyclable. That's not true?
Well, no, so 1, 2, the numbers go 1 through 7.
Right.
1 and 2 have the most value to the recyclers. So it really 1 and 2 are the ones they're truly looking for. And that's where this recycling program started from. Number 2's your cloudy milk jugs. I mean, that had it's HDPE, high density polyethylene. It's something that was long, you know, it's a resource rich material that they want to make into new bottles and cans, and it's definitely something they want. So yeah, I mean, you could use them as a guide. I guess the final answer though is that just because that's on there doesn't necessarily mean it should go in your curbside bin or should be.
Okay, so I have a question. So, like plastic utensils or plastic cups, or it's so many people, you see it everywhere. How about plastic plant, what do you call it? Plant,
From the
potting.
The potting plants, yeah.
Yeah. What about all of these items?
Yeah,
Can
they,
be recycled?
So, you know, again, we have that widget on the website where you can type any of these questions into. That widget was developed by Recycle CT, which is a nonprofit group that got formed out of some legislation that came out a few years ago to really look at recycling throughout the state and how to bolster it. And so one of the first things they did with this was this What's In, What's Out campaign.
Okay.
And they went and met with folks like me, but more importantly, all the recycling plants here in town, or in the state, and said, these are the list of materials that people are trying to recycle. You let us know, is it something that you want? Is it something of value? Is it something that your plants can process and recycle? And they came up with this What's In, What's Out list. So that is on our website. You could go to recyclect.com as well and look for it there.
But to start the people viewing, I know that multi-layered containers are to be dumped.
They're garbage at this point.
Frozen food containers, dumped.
Dumped, correct. Yeah, that waxy cardboard, like an ice cream container or something like that, that's garbage. You know, you go back to your potting plants, the green and red and black plastic, those are something they said yes to.
You can
recycle those. They want you to rinse them out, get the mud and dirt out of there. You know, hit them with a garden hose. They don't have to be clean, but you know, we're not recycling dirt, we're recycling plastic. So we want to get rid of, and I think that goes for all your recycling. You have your tomato sauce jar. You know, plastic or glass, both recyclable. Give them a quick rinse and get that tomato sauce out of there first, and then put in your recycling bin.
So I think it's across the board, we clean.
Clean.
We clean.
Yeah. They don't have to be, you know, they're not dishes, but they, you know, clean.
Yes.
Clean to.
You don't have to put them through the dishwasher.
Yeah, no, you don't. But yeah, so I believe utensils are on the out list.
Ouch.
But I would again refer to that widget that's on the solid waste homepage.
But you know what we do with utensils, Dan, just to mention, because we have them for years and years, and when we have parties, we put a container out with soapy water, and we ask people not to dump them, and we wash it like we would utensils. And we use, reuse, reuse.
That's fantastic, and that goes to the solid waste hierarchy that exists.
Yeah, can you tell us about that solid waste
Absolutely.
hierarchy?
Yeah, you probably remember this from grade school. It's been the 3 R's. Reduce, reuse, recycle. So number one, reduce the amount of waste you make in the first place, the amount of materials. If you don't need the bag, say no to the bag.
Right.
If you anything, if you don't necessarily need it, go ahead and say no to it. Reduce, reuse. If it has a secondary life, if you could give it another use, whatever that might be. I see all these cool Pinterest things of what people are doing with pallets and whatnot.
Right.
There's a lot of reuse that can happen, and then third is recycle. And so those are your top 3 layers of the solid waste hierarchy. After that, there's composting. There's just capturing. All the trash here in the state goes to waste energy. So instead of landfilling, instead of taking up space, it all gets used at a burn plant that creates electricity. So that's further down the list, obviously. But it's that kind of recapturing of the built-in energy that's there, and then landfilling is the latest, is the lowest.
With the burning of the waste that is burned, whether it's plastic or anything else, I don't know, it could be social issues from that.
Where are these incinerators, Dan?
There are a number of them throughout the state. Most of our waste either goes to the Preston facility or the Bristol facility. But there's one in Bridgeport, there's another in Hartford, there's another in Lisbon, I think I'm forgetting one. They're waste-to-energy plants. There was one in Wallingford that recently closed. They are held to a very strict environmental standard. They have scrubbers, airbags, filters, a lot of things to reduce the amount of pollution that they create. But they certainly have their, they are burning, they are making smoke, they're doing their absolute best to clean that, but there's certainly
here.
I'm sure there's some level of something, and there's ash that gets created. It greatly reduces, but it doesn't vanish. So that ash needs to be landfilled.
And methane, and all the toxins from the burning of the plastics. It doesn't sound like a solution, for sure.
Not a total solution.
No.
I personally rank it a lot higher than landfilling and taking up good open space, and that's where you get a lot of your methane release, is that stuff just decomposes naturally, and just new landfills have methane, ways to capture the methane, to treat the stormwater and whatnot, but it's higher up on that solid waste hierarchy than landfilling is the waste energy, we're a very small state that makes a lot of garbage, a very heavy populated state, and so we have to, come up with ways to deal with the amount of waste that, hopefully people will reduce the amount they make, but in the meantime, we need to figure out.
And I think that's a whole other topic about the burning,
Yes, it
because
is.
we can go into a whole topic of economic injustice. We're not going to do that today.
No.
But I don't see it as a solution, especially for these towns that have these incinerators.
But at the present, it
carries
seems like a better solution than, putting it directly in the earth is not
No,
a solution.
no, so we have to eventually.
Winds up in the groundwater and stuff like that.
Again, the best solution is to reduce that amount you ever made in the first place. To take the material that you create and don't put it into the trash pile, put it into the recycling pile, the various recycling piles. Take your food waste, do home composting. There's a push in the state. They just opened up an anaerobic digester to deal with food waste and organic waste that does really
Wonderful.
a much better job of environmentally handling that waste.
That's great to hear.
You know, and something that the town consistently keeps its eye on as an option. Not anything that's available now, but you know, something hopefully down the road that we could entertain and have.
Great. Yeah, that we care and that we'll move forward with integrity. You know, I think that a lot of people believe that we can keep buying all the plastic, whether we need it or not, because we're recycling. And I hope this program, Dan, really helps us to understand that we don't have a free pass if we recycle, because most of the plastics can't even be recycled. There's no market. China stopped taking. The market isn't there. And the towns, instead of getting paid, are having to pay to get it out of the towns. So it's a real huge issue. And we as the people of this town of, wonderful, beautiful town of Branford, can make great impact by, like you say, reducing and reusing.
That's wonderful.
No, that's well stated.
I think then also we'd love to share with the listening audience, the viewing audience, I should say, with the holidays coming. Can you help us to understand what do we do with all the decorations, the trees, the packing materials, the wrapping paper? Help us!
Well, you know, I'll give credit where credit's due. A number of years ago, I had a local girl, Etta Hanlon. She was a sophomore in high school at the time. She's since graduated and is off of college. But she and I and her family and a whole host of volunteers put forth the holiday wrapping paper program here in town. And you know, we're really targeted to children because those are, we figured those would be the ones who really produce, get the most gifts and produce the most of that wrapping paper. But it's a program where we try to educate folks that all that wrapping paper, the paper products, you know, there's the foil wrapping paper and mylar wrapping paper that's still not paper, so we want that in the trash, but it's something that we want to keep segregated from our holiday trash, and you put that out the curb with your, your regular recyclables and get collected.
Good. What about the boxes?
So the box board that your shirts and whatnot come in. They're a little bit shiny, is okay. And if it's foil or a plastic that's making that shine, then no. If it's just, ink and whatnot, that's fine.
Ribbons.
Ribbons will go in the jar. We'll use them for next year. But otherwise, they're going to go into your trash.
We're going to reuse them.
Yeah.
Yay! I even reuse the wrapping paper.
Yeah.
I try to carefully take it apart to reuse.
You know, this again goes back to reuse versus recycle being the better option. So anytime you could put something through a second life than throwing it away or recycling it, that's certainly what we're aiming for. But your box board, your envelopes, your gift cards. Any of that paper product, we just want to put into a paper bag and put out with your newspapers and magazines at the holidays.
Excellent.
Down and back we have a brush pile where you could bring your Christmas trees. The Boy Scouts every year do a large fundraising drive where they will come around and pick up your Christmas trees. That information will be on our website when the time comes. So all those Christmas trees get made into the mulch that you can put around your gardens and whatnot. Your other holiday, I mean, if you could figure out a way to compost your food waste that you might have, otherwise that's trash.
What about the lights? Well, people save those.
Yes.
I think save the lights. We don't recycle them here. We don't want them in your recycling bin. I have heard of different stores taking them back.
Oh, really?
We could research that and hopefully have a good answer when the time comes.
What about certain packing materials? I mean, we talked about, what about styrofoam, peanuts, things like that?
Yeah, well, any styrofoam is considered trash. So that's something we're going to want to keep separate from the paper and whatnot and throw away. Thankfully, I'm finding a lot less peanuts these days and more of the air pillows.
Oh, yeah.
Those little bags of
Peanuts are terrible.
plastic film. And the great thing is those plastic films is recyclable.
Great.
So you could just pop the air out of them and then put them in with your single use, all that other plastic film that you produce. We have a bin here in Bay 1, or you can bring it back to your local retailer. And they should have, if your local retailer has a plastic film repository. So yeah, it's nice that, styrofoam, which is a very difficult product, just becomes litter everywhere, is being replaced by something that is more readily recyclable.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Okay, well, I think maybe the last thing that I'd like to ask, some people have expressed a level of discomfort in coming to the transfer station, to the recycling center, because they don't know how things are done. So maybe we could go out on a tour and see how things are done, how the center is arranged. It seems to be arranged very nicely from what I haven't used it.
Right.
And I think it works very nicely, so we could show them the process.
That's
Can
a
we
great
do that,
idea.
Dan?
No, yes, absolutely. Let's go outside and
Let's
take a
go.
look.
Okay, we're going to take you all with us. Let's go.
Great.
Hey Dan, so I want you to know that I also brought something for us to work with right now. Oh, wonderful. I normally recycle, like, I bring my stuff every week to 10 days. And I come visit here, thanks. It's nice to have a little help with that.
Okay, so folks, come with us and we're going to show you how this all gets recycled.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So I think one of the first things that we have the different bays set up for different materials. We have bay 5 and 6 in the far end. That's the regular household trash. Bay 4 is your construction debris. Bay 3 is your newspapers and magazines. Bay 2, your bottles and cans, plastic, glass, tins. And Bay 1 is your cardboard. So Bay 1, 2, and 3 are the 3 separate items that you separate your recycling out at the curbside. So when the truck goes and picks up those 3 separate things, he puts them in 3 separate compartments in his truck, brings them here and dumps them into 3 separate containers here at the transfer station. And so when you, as a homeowner, today bring your stuff here instead of putting it out on the curb, put those in their respective spots as well.
So how about if we go in order, 1, 2, 3?
Okay.
And
sure.
then, you know what, then there are actually, we have questions as well. There are things that we brought that we're not sure.
Questionable
So,
items?
When we
Okay.
get to it.
right,
Yeah,
When we
okay.
get to it.
Yeah. And one of the nice things too.
Okay,
Let's start at 1.
Bay 1 is perfect because Bay 1 has some things that we recycle here that you don't put in your curbside bin. And actually one of the first things I see in your bag is one of those materials. So
What is that?
let's take a walk. It's the plastic film.
So here, I was curious about this bag.
Yeah.
Is that too thick?
This is what, so we have the plastic film here in Bay 1. It's for polyethylene bags, number 2s and 4s. And so there's a picture here. If you go on the website, if you're ever confused, the Branford-ct.gov is a town website. The solid waste recycling page has its own page if you go to town departments. Go to that page. Right at the very beginning is this new widget that the Connecticut Recyclers just came out with, C2 Recycle, that you can type in any material. And it will tell you trash, recycling, ask your municipal coordinator if it's kind of a questionable question, and my contact information is on that website, or the phone number for the department's there, and you can call and ask at any time. So anytime there's a question, we have this picture here of what is acceptable plastic film and what isn't, but it's really your single-use bags that you get at the grocery store, your air pillows and air bubbles that you get with shipping and things like that, dry clean bags, bread bags, packaging overwrap from bottles of water or paper towels or things like that, all that plastic film. What it's not is chip bags, salad bags, moisture produce bags. It's a different kind of plastic. It's not stretchy. It's really crinkly.
So this is.
So this would actually be a no. This kind of produce bag would be a no.
So that would have to be done?
This would go in your garbage. But this stretchy plastic here, it just really, really has that stretch to it. That's a good indication that it's the polyethylene plastic.
So if it's rigid,
a lot of them, if it's crinkly,
if it's rigid,
crinkly, it's going to be garbage. Yeah. But plastic bags, your single-use bags, your bread bags, your Ziploc bags, again, crinkly, we're going to want to put that in the trash. That'd be a contaminant here for the plastic films.
the crinkly is garbage.
And one nice thing, we have this year, but I think every grocery store in town has one now. At least the big ones. I think Walmart's, Kohl's, they all have. A lot of stores now have a bin in the front for bringing back your single-use bags, and they also accept this other film.
And as you know, Dan, in Branford, we're trying to ban the single-use plastic bags. So
Right.
that's going to help us all.
Well, that would mean I'll have to empty this whole
Right.
But there are, it's not just the single-use bag. That's one component of what comes in here, but it's all that other, the mantra is beyond the bag. It's beyond that single-use bag, so you'll still get all that stuff you get from your air pillows. You'll still get your bread bag. You'll still get your product overwrap, your dry cleaning bag, your newspaper bag. All that plastic that is part of your life is still all recyclable. The key is it comes here or it goes back to the retailer. It's not something that goes into your curbside bin. Plastic bags in the curbside bin are one of the number one contaminants in that stream.
It's a contaminant?
It's a contaminant to recycling. If you put a plastic bag into your recycling, it will end up in recycling. So if you think you're doing the right thing by bagging your recycling or just putting a bag of bags into recycling, you're just making contaminant, you're making it tougher for the recyclers. They'll pull it off the recycling and then they'll put it in the trash.
So this banana bread is too crinkly, so that's...
I would consider it to be out. Yeah. This bread bag, it's one of those things.
Don't put in there now, then.
Yeah, we could walk down and put it in the trash after.
So all of that?
No.
is
A lot of it is good,
Okay.
but I got to separate it again, and I'll take it home and do it.
One thing before we get going, while we're here, is behind is the fluorescent light bulbs. Any of your tube bulbs, those have mercury inside them. We're looking to recycle those. Again, not something you put in your curbside bin, but something we do accept here. And a lot of us are starting to produce these now.
Yes.
But these are complex fluorescent lights, CFLs they refer to them as. They have mercury in them. Bring them here. They get collected and recycled, and that mercury is collected.
I'm glad you told me that, because I have one at home that I just replaced. And I was going to bring it all the way to South Windsor to a place where I know that they do recycle that.
Save us a
Okay.
trip.
Yeah.
Now I can bring it in.
Excellent.
You can bring up the Has Waste when Has Waste Central and Longworth is open. But that's closed for the season at this point in time. But Branford residents come here at any time.
So
Excellent.
now I have here white paper and cardboard. Yes, I'm just double checking. White paper and cardboard. Is that what's next here?
But what about all of this,
No, that's just magazine.
Yeah.
well, let's make sure people that are viewing know that all of this shiny kind of,
Any shiny magazines, flyers, junk mail, regardless if it has the little envelope, the window on the envelope, that you can take them off. It's probably best, but you do not have to. But so any of that paper, perfect. We want it. If you're going to put it curbside, put it in the paper bag. Not a plastic bag, because I know it will be regarded as garbage. But put it in a bag, bundle it up, put it out with your blue recycling bin at the curb. They'll pick that up and dump that into our newspaper.
So magazines,
Magazines.
newspapers, junk mail.
Office paper.
office paper.
And one thing I see in your cardboard here, and this, boxes.
Yes.
This is referred to as box board.
Yes.
It's pressed paper. Comes in so many things for packages. Crackers,
Yes.
cereal,
So that goes with cardboard.
this goes with your newspaper. Box board goes with your newspaper.
Even
I
if
was
the
doing
if
it.
the
Yeah.
shine doesn't
A little bit of
matter.
shine is okay.
Okay.
What we don't want is a really waxy box. Like if your frozen food stuff usually has a significant wax to it. That's fine to come in there too. But that is the wax they can't quite deal with, so that would be.
So all of our box stuff that has sort of a cardboard feel inside or waxy on the outside goes with the newspaper.
Put it in the newspaper.
Fantastic,
Yep.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yep. And that a box again another box board box. It has the little
Not a
envelope window, but that's okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And again, we just, if we're gonna put it out on the curbside, we're gonna want it in a paper bag and not a plastic.
Wait, I
Or
know,
bundled in a string.
I'm going backwards a little bit. This
Yep.
is sort of stretching.
That would be the number 2 and 4 plastic that would go into the bin.
Okay.
Okay,
So we're not gonna come here. This is our cardboard compact. Well, that's the box board. So we usually have a cardboard box around here. I don't see any in there. Corrugated cardboard is a 3-layer cardboard. So it's got the 2 outer edges and then the wavy line in between.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
corrugated cardboard. That's the cardboard when we say to separate your cardboard at the curbside. To separate your cardboard here, it's the actual cardboard boxes that your Amazon things come in, and your other e-commerce things come in, that your TVs and whatnot come in.
And people can just
They
dump
come
it
in here,
into
it's a compactor that goes into the container here, crushes it all, and so if you move, you have a lot of cardboard, bring it to us, put it into the bin. I think the only request we have is to empty the styrofoam out of it, all that, everything that's not cardboard. I mean, this is a strictly cardboard dumpster, and so anything that's not cardboard, we don't want to do.
Had it been also in the past, was it white paper?
White paper did go in here at one point, yes.
So that's now.
The office paper has danced around a little bit. At one point, it had its own separate container. At one point, it went into here. Now we ask that it just stays with the rest of the paper.
That's why I was getting ready to dump that. Now I know. I just learned.
Great, and I have a question about office paper. I thought originally it was only the white paper. But what about if it's the same kind of paper, but it's colored?
Yeah, in with your newspapers and magazines. Yeah, at one point,
Oh,
the white office paper has the most value to the recyclers, but all paper has some value, and so we try to collect that and separate it from everything else. So yeah, the one thing I would say is they say not to shred your paper if you can avoid it. Because
really?
when they recycle it, they bring it back into pulp and they make it into new pieces of paper.
Right.
And those fibers, as long as they can be, have the most value. And so when you shred, you cut all those fibers. And so you're degrading the value of the paper.
But we have to weigh that against.
Obviously, if you have personal security issues, then yes, by all means shred. And then actually, these days they say shredded paper should just go in the trash. When they get to the recycling plant, the bags open up, the shredded paper flies around like confetti, and it really becomes a breathing issue for folks working at the plant, and it ends up not making it through the system to the paper.
We learned a lot of new things.
So ideally do not shred your paper. Obviously shred your paper if you have to because of security concerns and whatnot. But,
Wow, and so all the shredded paper that we are doing for security say we now have to dump it.
goes into the trash. Yep.
Okay, there's a lot of,
Yeah,
how do we do this?
I'm not sure. I think I don't have any training.
Okay, so
All right.
cardboard compactor, corrugated cardboard only. We're going to now move down to bay 2 and 3 where the rest of our bottles and cans and whatnot go and our newspaper.
Great.
Great. So now we're going to base 2 and 3. One's for bottles and cans and the plastic, and 3 is where the newspaper goes, and that's where the trucks dump into. But in an effort to get it where you don't have to come near this deep edge,
we had these tip carts built. This one is your bay 2, your bottles and cans, plastic, glass, metal, and newspapers and magazines for all that paper product we talked about before.
So we're gonna dump it there.
Yeah, so when you're a resident, you just come here, dump your bottles and cans into here. So here we have a whole lot of plastics go right in there. Your drink and juice and milk and everything, these bins, these are fully recyclable. Put those in with your bottles and cans. A lot of times you find these in with the newspapers, but they really should. They're containers, they're juice containers that are meant to go in with bottles.
And does it help you if we do this, if we crush it?
Absolutely, because the truck's going around. He has limited space in his truck, and so anytime we can eliminate just driving around with air, wasting that resources doing that.
And then another
crush.
question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we are taking off the tops because you believe that you told us in the past that they're not recycled, all lids.
Excellent point. Yes. No. Thank you for that. All these little lids they don't make it through the recycling process. They're technically recyclable. They're plastics that could be recycled, but within the system they fall through the screens and whatnot, and they get mixed in with the trash, and they end up being trash. So they're better off just going directly into the trash.
And what about if it's a lid, like we have this
Oh,
big?
here.
Oh,
Large,
that's it.
yeah.
How about a large plastic lid?
A large plastic lid could go in. Yeah. So if you had a margarine tub or something like that, those larger lids, you could put into
Wonderful.
the
Okay, so it's just a small one.
yeah. So yeah, all this great stuff. Glass would go in there. I will say the one caveat about glass is it's not. Sometimes we find windows in here or things of such nature. This is just your bottles, your food glass, and the same with plastics. Food beverage plastics, not your old pool chemical plastics, not your motor oil plastic. Those things they're too dirty, they're contaminated, they have hazardous chemicals in them. We want those to go in the trash.
How about a heavy aluminum?
Into the recycling. All that foil is recycled. Clean.
It's clean. I don't have any food.
That's another excellent point. Clean and dry is true for everything we're recycling. So rinse out your containers, pizza boxes in the cardboard. They're a yes unless they're heavily soiled or greasy. Take the food out, take the liner out, but that just cardboard box that remains, if a little greasy is fine, but a heavily soiled one. What I do, the bottom is heavily soiled, but the top is clean. I'll rip it in half. One goes, the soiled part goes in the trash, the clean part goes in the recycling. But clean and dry is a mantra for all things to be recycled. So this is all great stuff. Your lid is still on there. We can take that off, put that in the trash. At worst, if it was on there, went in, it'll get segregated out when they deal with the recycling, and they'll throw it away as trash. An occasional lid isn't the worst thing to a recycling stream.
Okay.
The plastic bags are a big problem. Anything that's considered a tangler, clothes, we don't want in our recycling bin. Hoses, Christmas lights, things that seem they're made out of plastic, they're made out of rubber. Maybe we should put them in the recycling. We don't want to do that. Contamination is a major issue, and we want to try to clean that up. Go ahead and throw all this in here. All this is great stuff. So you can just come over here. Sardine tin. There we go. Yep. You can just come over to the tip jar and just empty out. Now this is now.
But then we'll reuse it and
Reuse it.
reuse it and reuse it.
That's the ideal thing we're looking for. If it's clean and dry, we'll go over there to the plastic film.
Am I gonna take
If
it
it's
home?
not, we'll take it down to the end and put it in the trash, or just bring it home and use it for trip 2, and trip 3, and trip 4.
So David will dump all this
Yep.
in here, right?
Well, so, again, you're in the position of, if you want to keep your bag, keep
Yes,
it
we'll
and
keep
dump
it.
it, or it's in a paper bag, so you can just dump it.
It's still a tree.
Curbside, you want it
Curbside, we want it in
newspapers and stuff
a
like that.
paper bag or bundled with string, so when the guy comes to pick it up, he can easily grab that, stack of papers and
He has to
material.
separate it.
Because he separates it at the curb.
Okay, but for us, it's still came from a tree, so we're gonna take the bag one.
Perfect. Yeah.
Wow, we are learning.
So now I have a white paper and this is cardboard.
That's boxboard. So
Boxboard.
again, toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, all this is 100% recyclable. You just want it in with your newspapers and magazines and your other paper
So
products.
that's gonna get it to become a bigger bag for us.
Yeah. It's as less and less people utilize newspapers, don't get magazines. This stream is shrinking, but it's increasing with all the mail that people get, the office paper, the box board that's now accepted. So there are still a lot of things that you can put out in recycling.
So those are the basic household.
These are your basic 3 things that you might put out at your curbside that you could also bring here and recycle. There's things that we accept here. Actually, a whole list of things that we accept here that you can't put out on your curbside, but we do take care and we should bring. One was the bulbs in the bags. Across the way is our scrap metal bin. Anything that's made of metal, we send back to our scrap guy and he sends it off to the proper smelter and they turn that in. So aluminum, copper, lead, any of those products. Bay 4 is our construction debris. Those are the things that aren't burnable, shingles, old toilets, insulation, things like that. That gets sent off to get properly processed.
And people can bring that from their home if they really want it.
If they're doing the work themselves, they can bring it in here. Otherwise, if you're having a contractor do the work, you might want to have a dumpster if it's a large project right on the property. Or we do have, contractors can bring their stuff here to part of the scale system. They pay for that disposal.
Okay, and then a friend asked, so I'm gonna ask you now and answer her on screen. She has a mattress.
Yes.
And she bring it and she wanted to know if she can get it here. Is there a fee?
There is not. I mean, mattress and box springs. Mattress and box springs are a story I like to tell. There's a few products here in the state that fall under extended producer responsibility, which means they've made legislation that the producers of these materials have to deal with their end of life. And so mattresses, now when you buy a mattress, you pay a recycling fee up front, and that completely pays for the recycling of the mattress and box springs now. So we have a container here on site. It's free to the residents, free to the taxpayers. It comes, it gets hauled away. We don't pay for it with tax money. It's all paid for by the users. When you buy a mattress, you pay for that. That's the green box right outside the scale house. So when you came in, you come to the scale house, you look right around, and you walk your mattresses and boxes in there. And that's the same. Another product that falls in there is your e-waste. That's your televisions, computers, all that type of stuff. All come here, all come free, all get disposed of to no cost to the town. And they have a lot of precious metals and whatnot in them that they want to reclaim. And so it's not anything we want to throw away. We don't put it in our trash. We want to try to reclaim that and bring it back. And the other 2 is paint. I don't know. We don't accept paint here at the transfer station, but there are a number of local retailers that take it back, and that's again free. So you can bring any latex, oil-based paint. There's paintcare.org is the organization that runs that, the paint consortium. I'm losing their name right now, but they run that program, paintcare.org. You can go there. There's a list of retailers that you can bring that paint back to.
So you find the list online.
Online. I have a link to it on our website, again, branford-ct.gov. There's a hazardous waste page off of the solid waste page. Tells you about paint and tells you about a number of other things. So send anybody there, and it has a list of local stores. So bring that back.
This has been amazing. Dan, we want to thank you so much.
Well,
You're so very welcome.
are there any other items, what about garden waste?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so behind the transfer station, we have our compost area. So the leaves that you put out right now curbside, we're in leaf collection season, they all get collected by a separate truck and brought here and dumped them back. Those leaves get turned into compost, which is available to residents when it's ready. All the brush, all the trees and leaves that get brought, not leaves, but the trees and branches that get brought here, we mulch and turn it to your regular yard mulch, and that's available to residents to come pick up and use at their house.
I have a question about that. If we're organic gardeners, the concern is that anything that's live matter can be dumped in, and it might be dumped with toxins. Is that not so? Pesticides?
You certainly will have, not too many trees are treated. It's more lawns. We don't accept grass clippings.
You don't accept
We don't accept grass clippings. Grass clippings should be mulched and left on your lawn as just natural fertilizer.
Okay.
And that should cut down on the amount of fertilizer and pesticides you put on. The trace amounts that get put onto the trees, they say that it'll break down through the composting cycle. So we don't certify it as organic waste, but I'd be comfortable putting it on my property. But if you have reservations, then by all means.
But at least you offer it.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Any other questions?
I think one thing that do go down back is Freon units. Freon.
Oh,
So if
Freon.
you have an air conditioner, a refrigerator, a freezer, a dehumidifier, we take those, we accept all those free from residents. Everything here, you need a resident sticker to come in or a trip pass, and for a resident, then you could just deposit all your material for free. But we take those, we put them down back. A certified company comes in and takes the refrigerant out, so it doesn't become a hazard to the ozone and everything, and that all gets properly recycled.
I just heard the other day on the news that the ozone, over the poles, the hole in the ozone has closed up since they stopped the freon. This is the first year they reported it. Has really having closed up a lot.
A step
That's
in
great.
the right direction.
That's
And they say it's because of the banning of the...
And it's important for those older units that still have the early refrigerants in them to really be brought here, processed properly, so that those gases that are kind of antiquated, that were before those laws, get properly handled.
Great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
This has been so informative.
Been my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Dan. We really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is our back area here. So if you were to come down the back, you had to get rid of some leaves or brush, or you wanted to pick up some of our compost or our mulch. You come down, we have the brown garage. It's really used a lot for storage. One thing I will point out is the Freon units we discussed. About 2/3 of the way down there. That's again your refrigerators, your dehumidifiers, your air conditioners. Those things we want to take those refrigerants out of. Beyond that are the leaf piles. That's where all the leaves that are getting collected, all the leaves that you bring us, get brought. In the foreground from there, that large brown pile, that's all those leaves turned into compost. So that's the compost any residents welcome to come and grab. A really good soil additive, garden additive. It's just that rich composting that you can do at home, and that's a fine thing to do as well. But we also do it on a larger scale here. Somewhat to the left, I don't know how well you can see it. That's our brush pile. That's all the trees that have come down that have been brought to us. We can see there's quite a bit of it now. As soon as that
area gets full, we'll have the brush chipper in here. He'll chop that all into mulch, and that's mulch you could then, put around your trees and your garden and your front beds. Does a really nice job of helping to, keep the weeds down, keep moisture in. It's a really good thing to put around your plants. And so that's all here in the back and available for residents to come use.
We trust that you enjoyed your visit to the transfer station and recycling center, and that the tips that you learned today will benefit you, our town, and our environment in general.
Yes, David, I agree. And, we invite you all to meet your neighbors next month. Our topic will be resolutions, and our guest will be Suzanne Hanley. She is a very experienced and knowledgeable Tai Chi instructor. She teaches all along the shoreline, as well as right here in Branford at our Canoe Brook Senior Center. And the way this is connected to resolutions, often we make resolutions and then we quickly break them. We believe that these tips that Suzanne is going to teach us, we're going to stick to, because the different exercises that are so simple are going to help us maintain and increase our body strength, our flexibility, and our balance. And also, she's going to teach us ways of walking on ice that will diminish our potential for falling. So I think we'll be very motivated to do these exercises at home.
And in the meantime, we wish you a joyous, healthy, and peaceful New Year.
Yes, and whatever holiday you are celebrating in December, may it be love-filled and joy-filled. Thank you. Blessings to all. Peace on earth.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.